Hey guys, EST here. Today we're talking about the port disruption that already resolved itself, but this is going to be like a retroactive looking back. What did people screw up and what should you have done if this became a developing issue over time? Now, I could make this the union video where I talk about unions keeping around bad teachers, bad cops, and how I just left my last job and got a new one that pays higher because I didn't like the work environment and it didn't pay enough, and now they're having trouble finding anyone to work there. I don't think a union making my department cost more money at a company that was failing because they're out of money would be a good idea or help me in any way. But luckily, this isn't the union video. Serious though. MLB umpires, anyway. How did people react this time? Well, they went out and punched each other in a Walmart to get bottled water and toilet paper. Both of which are 100% domestically produced and don't go through a port. And before you say, but the plastic. Plastic is interesting, but there's a lot to break down here because I looked at, okay, what are the top 10 categories that we import? We've got, depending upon who you ask, machinery, including computers, hardware, and electronics. Then we got minerals, fuels, and oil, so industrial production stuff. We do need that. We absolutely need that, and it's I don't know about volume, but I know dollar amount. It's number 2. From what I know, that stuff, it's raw materials, is not very expensive compared to finished products, so it probably is an extremely high physical volume as well. So that would be bad, but if it's coming from overseas, have a lead time and have a buffer. That's pretty much like the golden rule of any company that wants to stay in business. But let's move on to, we got electronic machinery and equipment. So yeah, like some big heat press, some big conveyor belt thing, some big oven, that all comes from overseas. Not always China, usually Europe, actually. But those break, where I used to work every week, but completely total themselves like once every couple of decades. So, that would become slowly a problem, but we want to know what an immediate problem would be. And you probably at your house don't have an industrial like candy making machine or something, which also we don't need because the world doesn't need candy, which is also a category of dumb stuff that comes in from overseas that we don't need. So we can just cut down on all of that, and well, sucks to be them. They get no money. Oh well, export it somewhere else. Which they will, but what affects us? What do we actually need that would come in? Number 4 is aircraft and spacecraft. That was on one list, which is really weird because it wasn't anywhere near another list, but okay. Vehicles and automobiles is number 5. Medical equipment and supplies is number 6. Plastics is number 7. Gems and precious metals is number 8. Pharmaceuticals is number 9. And organic chemicals. So stuff to make other stuff is 10. So you might have noticed those would disrupt businesses and it would do it somewhat quickly. But like I said, if that shows up 5 days late from someplace over in China, because it does all the time, and you have to shut down your factory for 2 weeks because now you can't make what you're going to make. No. You're going to have 6 months to a year worth of that stuff sitting around in your warehouse. So it would be annoying. Things would get tight. Prices would raise just because of speculative, we need to hoard it now. But nothing would actually happen for probably several months if a lot of this stuff was cut off. But remember, the majority of the goods we need by volume are dumb, cheap Chinese plastic crap that we don't need, like toys for kids. We buy them because we can. The business model is there. It's all subsidized and crooked. But if it were to disappear overnight, it wouldn't affect our daily life in any way. Computers and electronics and pretty much almost anything with a PCB on it, a printed circuit board, that's pretty alarming. So should you say, oh, my cell phone's 3 years old, I'm going to rush out and get it? Maybe if you can get a good deal. I wouldn't just be like, oh, I don't have $1,000, but I need that phone, so I'm going to buy it on credit because, oh no, what if I can't get one? I mean, phones are critically important. It would be high on my list, but you got to really, really convince me to buy anything on credit because of a news story. Because if every time I saw a negative news story, I went out and bought something with money I didn't have, I'd be broke. But like computers, a lot of people have multiple. They keep the old ones. These days, you could be running a 5-year-old computer and you wouldn't even notice because they've kind of topped off in speed, at least as far as the user interface reactive seeming speed. I mean, 5 years, you can now edit videos at triple the speed and crunch numbers for AI and stuff, but you don't notice that on a daily basis because they've gotten so fast with solid-state drives that a fast computer and a moderately acceptable computer just is what it is, and as long as it's not broken, you're fine. Now, if a business hires 100 new people and needs 100 laptops and can't get them, that's a problem. If they can get them but they cost double because of supply and demand and, let's be honest, scalping, that's also a problem because now whatever they make, they're going to pass down the expense to you and everything's going to get more expensive. So we would see black markets, we would see scalping and that kind of stuff when people can't get what they want. But if the government immediately put a restriction in that said we can't import stupid stuff because, 2 out of our 4 ports are broken right now or whatever happened, that would just solve the problem by itself. Now, pharmaceuticals. Everybody's talking about what if you can't get your prescriptions? You could literally die. Well, let me let you in on a little secret. I don't think a lot of medications come by ship because they're very time sensitive, they're temperature sensitive, and that's not suited to transporting in a giant container on a ship for like 1 to 2 weeks, then going on a train in a port and sitting out in the sun in California or some other southern state that's way too hot. I suspect a lot of it comes out on airplanes, and I suspect that if the ports broke, they still would. Because here's why they don't ship in toilet paper from overseas. Because it's like at cost, like what, $8 to $12 for a big old cube of it, and then you pay like double that in the store. They're lightweight, but they're gigantic. So you put a bunch of those cubes in a shipping container, pay, I don't know, a couple $100 per container, and suddenly you just lost money because that expense is unacceptable. So what they do is they produce it domestically and then don't ship it overseas. And there you go. You still got to bring it by rail or truck. You still got to get it to the retail location. But the shipping cost could literally double if you have to take it across an entire ocean. And putting it on an airplane, you'd never pay the cost of the fuel. Now, you put some little $1,000 bottle of pills or something. It's not a bottle, by the way. It's in bulk bags when they sell it. You put that on an airplane and make sure it's all climate controlled and temperature controlled. So I wouldn't worry about that. But I mean, nobody wants the nightmare scenario of, I cut my finger open and now it's infected because, infrastructure's down. I can't wash. We're out of hand sanitizer and the power's out, so we're cooking outside with wood, and then I gathered wood and I injured myself with this, that, and the other thing, and now I'm having to use a knife and I'm not used to using a knife and I cut myself with that. Oh no, that looks infected. And also improper diet because of some infrastructure and restrictions and stuff. Everybody's just having a bad time. Lack of sleep because now you're working 2 jobs, or you're just stressed out over everything, or you can't sleep inside because your house was destroyed by a natural disaster. All of those things lead to my immune system is compromised, and now I'm having to do weird physical stuff that I'm probably not used to or good at. Oops, didn't know I was that clumsy, now I have a cut, and now it's infected. Or just a general illness, just like you could have dysentery. You could cook something improperly, you could get some bad water. I mean, in a not full grid down, absolute collapse, but just like an economic bad time like the Great Depression, people were not living so well, so clean, and they had to make adjustments to stuff they weren't used to, and that just results in more injuries and more illnesses. It's really just that simple. So I would perhaps get some antibiotics prescription ahead of time. Now, a doctor won't give that to you, but I'll shout him out. Jace Medical used to sponsor the channel, but this is not a sponsored video, and I'm not going to put my sponsored link. I just think people should go with them because they're the best. Also, they keep screwing up the link commission system. They've gone through multiple commission vendors. It's all a mess. Doesn't work. My account's all screwed up. But as far as customer support and the products, they have that all solved and figured out. So, hey, might as well shout them out. But, yeah, for like $3 to $5, you can get antibiotics of every type. One's for skin infections, one's for like dysentery, one's for like this type of infection, that type of infection. And you'll keep the booklet that tells you that. And then you're all set. You don't just like go to a hospital and say, well, we're out of them. So, you die now, or we're going to amputate. Those are your 2 options. And then you might remember medical equipment and supplies is on the list at about $100 billion per year. So that could be anything from a scalpel to an x-ray machine. I mean, they could literally just run out of syringes. You think those aren't made in China? You think those are made domestically? They're plastic and cheap metal? Nah, I bet they're Chinese. So if they don't have what they need to treat you, then guess what they're not gonna do? And I know from experience because I've worked in multiple different medical networks doing on-the-ground hardware stuff. Can't really talk about it, but they don't keep very much on hand. They got the drawers in the 50 packs of stuff, but like they have run out of stuff because somebody forgot to put it in order. So it's not like they've got, we got 10,000 of these sitting in a closet somewhere. That is not typical. But we're talking about you and your household. So like, what do you really need? Well, you should have like a first aid kit, which is basic stuff, obviously. And a multi-antibiotic ointment at least, because that's like $3 over the counter. So the bottled water people were idiots. I don't know if you knew this or not. You can manufacture your own bottled water at home. I don't think I need to elaborate on that. Recycle a container. Use any container that's waterproof. I don't care if it's like, a food storage container or like you just refill. Like I got the store brand Kiwi Strawberry sparkling water sitting right next to me. That's a quart. You turn on the tap. You fill it up. So going out to buy bottled water was stupid. If you really want to get fancy with it, I think I have a 5-gallon or 2.5 or something like that, and then a 1 point something gallon, like a folding container, and one's like a hardwall one. And I would just fill them up if I just thought I might need water in the near future. That simple. And rinse them out first. They got that nasty plasticky stuff on the inside. It's going to taste real interesting. So if you're short on water, you won't have water to wash it. So don't keep it brand new in the box. But yeah, bottled water, pretty stupid. That said, I do have bottled water, like just like a 48 pack sitting there at all times. When it expires, I usually use it on my garden. I'm not drinking expired degraded plastic, thank you very much. But then I replace it for $8 or whatever. Or probably 10. Thanks, Biden. But you know what's even better than plastic containers is glass. Okay, you can just fill up all your glassware, like a giant glass bowl with water. It's not that hard to store water when it comes out of the tap. Plus, I'm not 100% sure why people thought the tap water wouldn't function, because we can't ship in dumb stuff from overseas through a port. And also, did they think the workers weren't going to go back to work when they at home couldn't get anything that they needed? And do you think the government, especially the current government right now, wouldn't show up to the union boss's home and be like, hey, we're going to consider those terroristic threats that you just made? And remember that time that you got caught funneling money to organized crime groups and said it was an accident? Yeah, you're going to end this strike right now. So this was such unrealistic nothing. It was just a total write-off, so anybody panicking and going out to get anything was an uninformed idiot. It probably wasn't any of you, and if it was, you've been informed by this video. But I will say that if you do need basic OTC stuff, just have it. I mean, I have like Benadryl and Tylenol, so acetaminophen and diphenhydramine. I got like 100 of one and 1,000 of the other. It cost me a grand total like $20, and I got them in Mylar, temperature-controlled storage. There you go. But that's because my allergies are actually that bad. So I've also got my allergy meds that I'm on that was formerly prescription, is now over the counter. You could probably guess it if I gave you 3 guesses. I've got 1,000 of those. They're already expired, but not really, not the way I store them. And my life would be a living hell if I was off them for about 48 hours. I tried one time. I have some weird thing with my skin where it just reacts to like everything, and I need to suppress my immune system at like all times. So if you're on like some heart meds or something you absolutely need, or you could actually die, you could ask your doctor, could I get an extra buffer when I'm worried about supply lines? And if they say no, or maybe you just feel like that's a little too suspicious, or it's a controlled substance that's heavily sold on the black market and they think that's what you're doing, you could ask like, hey, it would be more convenient for me if we switched it to 90 day instead of 30, or switched to 180 or 1 full year. I know the one prescription that I'm on, it's for hair loss. It works. I love it. Thumbs up, 10 out of 10. It's through one of the mail services, not going to name them, but I just switched it to 180 days instead of 90, and they didn't really take issue with that. So then I effectively am stocked up. They're still going to, I think, have a 30-day overlap, like mail window. So you'll still get down there, but for the majority of the calendar, you'll have enough. So do look into that, ask about that if you just want to have more on hand and just have more of a buffer zone in case stuff gets bad, especially if it's a really, really critical thing. But, do check if it like expires after like 2 weeks or something crazy, or has to be refrigerated, or, all kinds of medications are different. But let's jump back to plastics, because people were saying, well, how are they going to wrap the toilet paper if they can't wrap it in plastic? Well, literally any other way, but also you're a complete idiot if you don't have like 6 months worth of wrapping in your warehouse at any given time, because yeah, it's heavy and big, but you order in bulk because you pay shipping once. It's not quite that simple. But also, if you run out and you go, hey you guys, we got all the machine, the paper, the sources, the fibers, everything's good, the machines are all good, we got the staff, but we got to close down our factory and not pay anyone for a week because we ran out of the wrapping plastic. We're living shipment to shipment here, and our shipment didn't arrive. So you guys are gonna come back after a 1 to 2 week unpaid vacation, right? They would sooner sell it unwrapped, let alone wax paper versus anything recycled plastic. They will find a way. They'll put it in a cardboard box. They don't care. And we make cardboard boxes here. We recycle paper almost entirely domestically. So we don't need plastic. And it's probably the one thing we can live without for the longest. And it was like 7th place on the most imported. But because you can never trust international logistics and you want to avoid any kind of shutdown due to shortage, I don't care if you put in shredded cheese in a bag. You have 6 months to a year worth of those bags in storage just in case. And you have backup vendors, and I mean, plastic doesn't go bad over time, so like you hold it on hand just in case. You do not want to get shut down because you can't put your final product in a stupid retail container. So I don't think that was a realistic threat either. So it's like, what does it come down to? Well, I thought about it. And I thought, okay, what do you need? This is kind of like the residential living version of what do you need if you're out in the woods, where it's like, oh, you need self-defense, water, shelter, warmth, and food. All right here where I'm sitting, I need a functioning toilet. I would love a functioning shower, but sink bath, just water out of the faucet, whatever. I do need water to work, but that wouldn't be disrupted. Food and drink, got that covered. We really don't import food here. We have laws against that. I'm not going to get into it, but anything critical that's a food, we don't import it because that's not secure. So you can get all your European licorice and chocolates in the weird food aisle, but a lot of enough staples are made here. A lot of corn-based stuff, a lot of flour, that kind of stuff. Like we get rice from places that are better at growing it than us, but a certain percentage has to be made here. So food we're good on. I also need my basement to not flood and not have humidity above a certain level, or it will mold over in like 2 weeks. Concrete walls, baby, gotta love them. So I already have 2 dehumidifiers, and those come from overseas, 100%. They're electronic, they're big, they're heavy, they're expensive, and we don't tend to warehouse too many of them over here because they're big. Yes, I would absolutely go get a dehumidifier if I had a basement and only had one dehumidifier and it was old or a really bad brand. If you got a sump pump, get 2, get a dual pump, and put a battery on one. That should have been part of when we buy the house, we need a little bit more furniture, maybe a wall mount for the TV. We're going to need some paint, and also in the budget is upgrading the sump pump so that it doesn't flood. You might just say, well, if it does flood, whatever, we get all new stuff and the insurance will pay for it. So let's just sign up for flood insurance and not worry about it. Look at what insurance companies did after every single major weather event ever, let alone an economic issue. They can't pay you money they don't have. They will declare bankruptcy and weasel their way out of it and get a government bailout and then not even pass it to you. And yeah, you can't count on insurance companies for crap. But yeah, if you call a plumber and they say, I literally can't get the parts, oh well, like it's flooding right now or it failed right now and the next time it rains, there's nothing we can do. We can't get them. They don't exist. You're going to have a real bad time. And then toilets, I still have one working toilet in my place. I have a full kit to rebuild it. Everything that goes in the back, you can buy the whole dang kit for $30-$40. I know, because I already rebuilt it myself, so I have the know-how how to do it. If you have no interest in that or no reason to do it, download a PDF on how to do it, or a YouTube video, download that locally, and then throw it on a device that doesn't need an internet connection. It won't break, like your cell phone. Less likely to break than, I guess, a desktop or laptop, mathematically. I got that stuff on SD cards on my old phones, man. Those are just laying around at 60% charge with the battery disconnected manually. But I already covered that in another video. So, hey, by the way, if you like my content, you want to learn about all kinds of other really useful, information-dense stuff in somewhat long-format content, that's where we're doing. That was almost a sentence. That's what we do here. That's what we're doing. That's why we're here. I was probably trying to say 3 of those things. But yeah, like and subscribe, Just go check out some other stuff. You don't want to miss it. I mean, we got improvised heating, improvised cooking, a lot of electronic stuff that all the dumb boomers who are out in the woods doing bushcraft don't have any idea how to do. Very unique channel. I love it. You should subscribe. Totally unbiased. But back to the video. Yeah, if your one toilet goes down, you're gonna have a real bad time. You're gonna end up, paying a $5 gasket, going on eBay paying $100 for it if you can even find it at all. So I would look in the back right now. If you see cracking or whatever, but it's not leaking, I would just replace it right now. And then when you do it, also buy a second kit at the same time to redo it again. Or if it looks good, still buy a full replacement kit. Because those are 100% made overseas. Silicone, cheap plastics, and really basic metals, yeah, that ain't made here, dude. And then, if your oven breaks, cool. Don't cook, don't bake, cook elsewhere, eat stuff that's cold. You don't need that. That's pure convenience. So I wouldn't say, oh my gosh, we're going to see an international shipping thing, so I'm going to get all new appliances for the kitchen. No, you're probably just trying to convince your spouse to do that. Let's be honest. And even though I'm saying have 2 dehumidifiers, I'm not saying have 2 refrigerators. That's a little stupid. You could just take everything else out, cook it, store it at someone else's house, sell it. It wouldn't be the end of the world. It would be a nuisance. It would be a little bit of a disruption, but I don't know about you. Most of my calories are outside my refrigerator. And while the loss of delightful, sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce would be tragic, I'm actually pretty sure that that's somewhat shelf stable. But also, I think I'd get over it. So I would just stock up on water if you're really worried about something. I don't know why the tap would turn off, but sure, do it if that's your last second thing you're scrambling to do. Do note that water filters aren't magic. So if you got to go get water from an alternate source because of some kind of event or outage, if I lived right across from a place that sells tons of paint and all of a sudden a flood came through and everybody's under a foot of water, I'm not scooping up that water to drink it because it would be just acetone and propane distillates among other stuff. And a membrane filter can't remove that. That's at the molecular level. That's a dissolved solvent. So they're not magic devices that make water drinkable. They're filters that remove particles. There's a big difference. So if you have a $4,000 reverse osmosis system, okay, that's a different story. But, while the taps work, if you had reason to believe they won't, you could just fill up whatever, glasses, plastic, food containers, used containers, it doesn't matter. I would do that before. I would go out to the stores and try and risk that and risk an incident and risk, some bad prices, risk robbery and fights and panicked masses. I would avoid that at all costs because that is a very hazardous situation to put yourself in when you could just not do that and be smarter than those people. Especially since now you know that toilet paper and water bottles are made, and the water in it, are entirely made domestically. We don't import it. Why did people go out and do that when they hear a port is shutting down? It's just... Send this channel to everybody you know, maybe. Some people are just good old-fashioned plain stupid, and there ain't nothing you can do to fix it. But in the meantime, for everyone else, we've got this wonderful educational channel. So that wraps up this video. What should you have gone out and bought? Well, pretty much household items, critical infrastructure stuff, and then pretty much nothing else. Maybe some meds. Maybe some electronics. There's not much else on the list that you could care about. But if there's anything I didn't think of, I'd love to hear about it down in the comments section. And if you have any questions, I'd love to answer them. So thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you guys next time.